3 days ago, there was an article in The Hill, which is the publication for the Capitol. Headline, Congress has the power to block Trump from taking office. I repeat, Congress has the power to block Trump from taking office, but lawmakers must act now. Written by 2 lawyers, one of whom is the former president of the New York City Bar Association. So he's just not some rummy. And here's what they say. Quote, the Constitution provides that an oath-breaking insurrectionist is ineligible to be president. And then the article goes on to say that Donald Trump has indeed been found to be an insurrectionist, even though he wasn't charged with insurrection, let alone being convicted of it. They go on to say that, well, when you look at the January 6th committee, they found overwhelming evidence that he was engaged in insurrection, even though, as I said, he wasn't charged with it, let alone convicted of it. And they said when he was impeached, there was a finding that he had engaged in insurrection, even though he was never charged with it, let alone been convicted of it. And when the Secretary of State in Colorado tried to prevent him from getting on the ballot during the primary, you might remember that, that was litigated up to the Supreme Court, and they ruled 9-0, she couldn't do that. Well, yeah, that was also an example of him being determined to be an insurrectionist, even though he was never charged with it, never been convicted of it. So the question is, after this article was published, would Democrats, in fact, attempt to prevent Donald Trump from taking office? Here's how they end the article, which I won't bore you with. Quote, the unlikelihood of congressional Republicans doing anything that might elect Harris as president is obvious. Well, duh. Next sentence. But Democrats need to take a stand against electoral college votes for a person disqualified from the Constitution from holding office unless and until this disability is removed. They end with this. No less is required by their oath to support and defend the Constitution, end of quote. So you Democrats, you know, the ones that have been calling Donald Trump a threat to our democracy, even though we don't have a democracy, we have a constitutional republic. You Democrats that have referred to him as a fascist and a Nazi and a Hitler, you have a duty, you have an obligation not to allow this man to take office. What happened? Nothing. You know why? He swept all 7 swing states. As I said earlier, won the popular vote as a Republican for the first time in 20 years. Took control of the Senate, retained control of the House, albeit by a very small margin. So the Republicans are in charge of the presidency, of the Senate, of the House, took all 7 swing states, increased their margins in virtually every demographic, pretty much doubled their votes in places like New York and California, of all places. And now you're finding rollback from other things. Pierre Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, is now resigning, largely because of the tariffs that Donald Trump promised to impose on Canada. Justin Trudeau. And you're finding a bunch of companies now retreating from DEI. And you're finding people saying things like Van Jones, and I was wrong. Donald Trump is a genius. He figured out the electorate in ways we haven't figured out before. You're finding people reassessing Donald Trump. For the first time in his 9-year political career, his approval ratings now outnumber his unapproval ratings. That has never happened since he went down the escalator and announced his campaign for the presidency of 2016. It's called the Trump effect. And now you've got people like Hakeem Jeffries. He is the House minority leader, the minority leader Democrat in the House. Here's what he said about the Democrat agenda. Check this out. Number 1.
The American dream possible. We will fight hard for the freedom to vote.
I think he misspoke. Let me hear that again.
The American dream possible. We will fight hard for the freedom to vote.
Isn't that a greenhouse gas? So he also made this statement about there not being election deniers on their side. In other words, we accept the outcome of elections. Number 2.
Thank you, President Biden and Vice President Harris, for your powerful, principled, and purposeful public service. Thank you. Two months ago, the American people elected Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America. Thank you for that very generous applause. It's okay. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle.
Okay, let's stop right there. That's okay, said Hakeem Jeffries. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle. This is a tweet by, I can't think of the guy's name. Hakeem Jeffries. Quote, "The more we learn about the 2016 election, the more illegitimate, all caps, it becomes. America deserves to know whether we have a fake president in the Oval Office," end of quote. This is roughly a little more than a year with Donald Trump in office. Now that's expelling a lot of gas. Quote, "The more we learn about the 2016 election, the more illegitimate it becomes. America deserves to know whether we have a fake president in the Oval Office." Let's hear number 2 again.
Thank you, President Biden and Vice President Harris, for your powerful, principled, and purposeful public service. Thank you. Two months ago, the American people elected Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America. Thank you for that very generous applause. It's okay. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle. You see, one should love America. One should love America when you win and when you lose. That's the patriotic thing to do, and that's the America that House Democrats will fight hard to preserve because we love this country.
Okay. Former Representative Donna Edwards, Democrat, number 20.
Well, Democrats have always accepted the results of a free and fair election. This election is not going to be any different. In fact, Kamala Harris will be, sort of there in place to do that. And so I fully expect that
Democrats have always accepted the results of free and fair elections. Really. Thanks for watching these clips from The Larry Elder Show. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. More thought-provoking discussions are just a click away, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.